Hello, this is Yang Fang from Tsinghua University. Today I have invited two of my students, Xiaoai and Guanda, to talk about poverty, American dreams, and homelessness.
Hi, I'm Xiaoai from清华University. I majored in English.
Hi, this is Guanda, also from Tsinghua University, English major.
In this text, the writer is talking about poverty in the United States. I have invited Xiaoai and Guanda to talk with me about poverty in other countries, like China. Xiaoai, how do you understand poverty?
In my mind, I will think poverty means a person have nothing to eat and nowhere to live. Then I will think he is poor.
Okay, that's poverty. How about Guanda?
The first, I agree with Xiaoai. And the second, I think the poverty she just mentioned can be called absolute poverty. But there's also another meaning of poverty can be called relative poverty. And I would define it in this way. A man that can afford his daily living, his basic living, but can't afford other things or services that his surrounding people can afford, can be called relative poverty. Such things or services for this man is kind of expensive, but for the other people, it is their ordinary life.
Yeah, so we have two kinds of poverty here. One is absolute poverty, another one is relative poverty. In the second paragraph, the writer is talking about the theory of poverty culture. Now let's look at the second paragraph. Do you have any questions?
I cannot understand the word marginality.
Well, in my opinion, I think marginality can be explained in this way. It means people living far away from the majority of the society, not accepted by the majority group of the society. And this can be called a personal feeling or a social phenomenon, marginality.
Yes, that's marginality. You feel isolated from the society, right?
Yeah.
Any other questions?
And how can we explain personal unworthiness?
Well, I have an idea for personal unworthiness. I think personal unworthiness means a person cannot feel his own contribution to this society, which means he's nothing compared to his friends or his surrounding people. Then I think these people can be called personal unworthiness.
Yeah, it's like he feels he's nobody, right? In the next sentence, we have an expression, entrenched attitude. What does this expression mean?
Entrenched, originally, it means something has been fixed after a long period of time and cannot be changed. And in this sentence, I think entrenched attitude is an attitude of the poor people. They have already get used to their poor living condition and don't have the mind to change this attitude, to change this environment. So the attitude refers to just accept the life and rather than change a lot.
Well, I cannot understand. What is lot?
Well, lot just equals to fate.
Okay, all right.
The next sentence is talking about the poverty theory. Xiaoai, how do you understand this theory?
Actually, I think it's not fair to blame the poor people. They have already spent a very miserable life, and it's not their choice to become poor. I think it's unfair to blame them.
Yes, I really agree with you. In the next paragraph, there is an expression, just word hypothesis. Now let's talk about what is just word hypothesis.
In my opinion, I think just word hypothesis can be explained in this way. Many people, especially the American people, think the world is already just and fair. All people have the equal opportunity, but actually it's not. Many people in the world are born with poverty and disability and lacking so many resources.
What can be found in the wealth distribution illustration here?
Actually, we can see from this picture that the richest 1% of American people controls more than 1/3 of the total wealth of this country. Well, I think it's a huge amount. I think it's unfair.
It's truly unfair, just like the Wall Street.
Yeah.
So it happens in developed countries, and it may also happen in developed countries, right? In the next sentence, the writer is talking about the lower class and the middle class. It seems they are at the end of the pyramid. Xiaoai, how do we understand this phenomenon?
Well, I think the whole society is just like a huge pyramid. The top 1% people on the pyramid have grabbed a huge amount of resources in the society. So the left people have to fight for the left resources so they can grab to the higher upper class. But actually, the lack of resources can make it more difficult for them to go upper in the society classes. So this is my understanding.
It's quite true, right? The lower class and poor people have little chance to moving up.
Yeah, and the poverty in the society reproduces itself.
In the last sentence of this paragraph, there is an expression from a sociological perspective. How we understand this expression?
Well, I think the sociological perspective in this sentence refers to a wider side of people over the social problems and social issues. This kind of perspective will benefit our critical thinking over these big problems.
Yes, from a social perspective, we are talking about poverty and homelessness, and we may see another view of the world. In this paragraph, the writer is talking about American dreams. It seems that if someone works very hard, he can achieve his dreams. Do you think so?
No, I don't think so. Because I think American dream is encouraging people to consume. So in this process, they will spend more than they earn. So they will end up in debt in the end.
So you're talking about American dreams may make people become poor?
Yeah.
It's possible. Now let's look at the last sentence of the paragraph. What does this sentence mean here?
Well, the author here means, I suppose, it means the problem of poverty is very complicated, so the researchers should keep an open mind and go deep to further explore the real causes and real factors.
So there's not a complete answer to this question. We still need to study more about it, right?
This comparison between people and social class makes it obvious that a group of people whose standard of living are not as high as other members of society will be considered to be poor.
People who are considered poor has a strong feeling of being left aside, being helpless, and being dependent. They feel that they don't belong to any groups, and they are inferior to people in other groups, and they don't have personal presence.
Stan believes that it is a fixed attitude that they develop because they live in poor communities. This leads the poor to accept their fate rather than trying to improve their living conditions. Lot originally means a group of people. In this sentence, it refers to the poor's fate or living standard. Entrenched means ideas or attitudes which have existed for so long that they cannot be changed.
This poverty theory tends to blame the poor for being poor and living a misfortunate life. In so doing, the poverty-stricken victims' social conditions are ignored. Different people have quite different opinion about the poverty theory. The majority of people have agreed that such a culture of poverty actually does not exist.
People want to believe that the society we live in should be fair to everyone, and we're in a world where people can achieve lifetime goals. Anyone who does not think so may not get what they deserve, thus living a miserable life in the end.
From the wealth distribution illustration, we can see that only the richest 1% of Americans control 1/3, which is 35.6% of the country's wealth.
The middle class and lower class are at the end of the pyramid, because the great number of people are competing for what is available to them, which is only 1% of the total wealth of the country. It is natural that many people have to suffer the bad effect of the situation and end up living in poverty. On short end means to suffer the bad effects of the situation.
To study the homelessness and poverty from the sociological perspective, we can get the best way of thinking of all the possible solutions to poverty, and then focus on the huge social changes to deal with these problems.
The current situation does not help Americans pursue what the American dream promises. On the contrary, it encourages Americans to consume more and pursue material wealth. This overconsumption only makes the Americans end up living in debt. Valorize means to assign value or merit to someone.
Poverty is a complicated issue in society. Thus, it is necessary to study more and explore the real reasons for poverty, and what are the factors which bring about poverty, and what may influence poverty in society.